ආයුබෝවන්. Greetings from Boston, Boston's Sri Lankan news magazine, bringing you news, views and entertainment from Sri Lankans living in Boston. Sri Lankans living in Boston and surrounding areas are keenly following the US foreign policy these days, especially at a time the Sri Lankans are getting ready to elect a new president on January 26th. US government that has been very critical of the Sri Lankan government's handling of war has begun to show some changes of its foreign policy towards Sri Lanka.
In fact, when we're thinking about US policy towards Sri Lanka last few months, in fact 2009 was a very critical period for Sri Lanka as well as the US. What are their policies, how they're going to implement their view towards the Sri Lankan future, especially the war between the Tamil Tigers and how the war is going to performed in the region, and that was very important issues. It is very important to Sri Lanka as well as it's very important to United States. So State Department a few weeks ago made a very clear statement. I was surprised to see that statement, so that they were almost praising what Sri Lanka did, and they would like to work together to build a nation. I think things are getting better now. I think the State Department and the Sri Lankan government is communicating well now. So I hope in future they have a very good relationship.
The Sri Lankans living in Boston and other neighboring states celebrated the Christmas on December 5th in Wakefield, Massachusetts. This is the 12th Sri Lankan Christmas party in New England, organized by the Sri Lankan Association of New England. Many Sri Lankans from all different faiths gathered to celebrate the birth of the Prince of Peace on that snowy evening. On that night, Sri Lankan Association raised about $1,500 for their charities in Sri Lanka. That includes supporting the child cancer patients in the cancer hospital in Mahalagama in partnership with Prashakti Kanta Samvidhana in Sri Lanka. Sri Lankan Association also launched the IDP Student Scholarship Project to offer more than 10 scholarships to St. John's School in Jaffna for students to do their advanced level studies. Those selected recipients will receive $500 per year to be used as their school fees as well as boarding fees each year. The newly formed Sri Lankan New England Youth Group also raised about $50 for their Pennies and Dimes for Better Times project to buy school supplies to children living in IDP camps.
Ranjit Vijayasinghe, who resides in Foxborough, Massachusetts, has been in the United States for more than 25 years. Although he has a software engineering background, Ranjit is a very creative and talented artist. He loves to give visual meaning to his thoughts and dreams. His beautiful home is not only a welcoming place for any Sri Lankan in USA, but also full of wide variety of his paintings. Now we ask Ranjit to share his views about the upcoming presidential elections in Sri Lanka.
Mahinda Rajapaksa took office about 4 or 5 years ago with a good majority, and he worked through way to become very popular president in Sri Lanka. But unfortunately, like him and like any other previous leaders that we had, he has to face the terrorist situation in Sri Lanka. So Mahinda Rajapaksa knew all these things, and his brother Gotabaya as the defense secretary, he also knew the challenge we are going to face. So apparently they build up the army with a very decisive force, and also they equip the army with very modern weapons, so that we want to go through this journey to the end. So they create a very powerful army. I believe that is the strongest army in the region at that point in time, and they went forward, and they destruct the whole LTT machine, and also they destroy their vulnerability, and they also destroy their credibility among the other people in the United States as well as in the world. Some or other, either is Mahinda Rajapaksa or Sarath Fonseca would become the president of Sri Lanka. But that doesn't mean that we're going to destroy ourselves. They are all very parliamentary motivated leaders, and they all are democratic leaders, and we all believe that the democratic establishment will remain for many years to come.
The first ever Sri Lankan Day in New England was held in town of Acton this summer. The Acton town in Massachusetts hosted the event at Nara Park in Acton, and the Sri Lankan Association of New England organized the event in collaboration with the New England Lanka Academy. The Sri Lankans living in New England states, that includes Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, helped and participated at the event, which included many exhibit stalls as well as Sri Lankan food stalls. The climax of the day was a 1 hour long Sri Lankan cultural show. Large number of Americans attended the event. The delicious Sri Lankan food was a great hit with the crowd, and the cultural show won the hearts of all. Many aspects of the Sri Lankan culture and its people were displayed in the exhibit stalls. The Sri Lankan Airlines had given the first prize for the Sri Lankan Day raffle, which brought much needed funding to cover the cost of the event as well as to support Slane's Children's Project in Sri Lanka.
That's all for now. We'll meet you again with another edition of Boston Sri Lankan News Magazine. Till then, goodbye.